What up, guys? So the Suburban took up pretty much all my day Friday, but we're gonna get back to the action. Gonna get on the hatch. We left off. We had to stop the tuning session due to boost creep. So today, that's what we're gonna try to fix. I'm gonna go ahead and get this off, and maybe the manifold off if I can't get to the flange from here and cut it. But basically, I'm just gonna chop that off and go from there. All right, guys, I went ahead and got the 38mm precision wastegate off, and I didn't have a 4-layer gasket or even any multi-layered 2-bolt gaskets, so I didn't want to use those aluminum gaskets because they just blow out. But you can see there was some blow-by past the firing, and that's mainly because the surfaces aren't flush. Now, you don't necessarily always need a gasket. If the surfaces are flush enough, they will seal, but in this case, we had some blow by, but there was no delay in spool. This thing was spooling good. The problem that I'm having is not being able to bleed off enough pressure, and that makes the GT35 over boost, and that would make this F20B go bye-bye too soon before I could even finish the tune. Now that night you saw us trying to tune, we did hit boost cut at 20 pounds because this was spiking. You know, this priority, the gate exhaust flow is going down. It's not going to want to come back up. As you can see, it's pointing up. So what I'm going to do is basically just cut this thing off and then go from there. I think I already said that, but I just wanted to show y'all what I'm working with. All right, guys, I got the GT38.5 off along with the manifold, and I just want to show y'all real quick how bad the collector design is with the wastegate priority. So inlet goes into the T3 flange, spools up to GT35. Now, to reduce manifold pressure, you need a wastegate to release some exhaust. That way you could stop increasing pressure on the turbine. Well, this little tiny 30mm deal just simply can't bleed off enough. So you gotta find a way to cut that bad boy off and put something else. But let me get the turbo off first so I don't get too many shavings in it, and then I'll start hacking it up. All right, guys, I went ahead and cut off the 2-bolt wastegate flange with a grind off cutoff wheel, and here's the 38mm gate that I was running. Now, this is not a bad gate. This is a very reliable gate by Precision Turbo, but the problem is you have to utilize these correctly, guys. Check this out. This manifold design is literally, the wastegate outlet is smaller than a 38mm. So, I mean, this wastegate outlet just simply couldn't let out. Now, this could be enough if I prioritize a wastegate that flow can go straight out the exit tube. So I'm gonna have to cut this off, but I figured since I'm already cutting things off, I'm gonna go ahead and ditch this one and use this guy on something on a more proper setup. And what I got here is my Tile 44mm V-band, and you can kind of see the difference of the outlets, inlets and outlets. This is a 38mm and this is a 44mm. So the problem being is, the only problem is I gotta kind of like get this thing to see if it'll have a spot that it can stay on, because if not, then it's useless as well, and I don't want to hinder the performance of this gate, because these are both really good gates, and just because I'm using them wrong doesn't mean these are bad products at all. So the wastegate kit did come with this flange. It did come with a spare flange, which is this one right here. Oh, look, you can kind of see by the firing how much bigger a 44mm is, and then versus this one. So we'll just basically, by putting this 44mm wastegate, we'll be able to reduce the manifold pressure a lot better. The only problem is I gotta see if I can find maybe an extension pipe to kind of point down a little bit, or just clean this up enough to where I can bolt it right on, because right now I still have a lot of cleanup to do since I just cut off the pipe, the 2-bolt flange. But basically I want to be able to let out this much exhaust volume, if you want to say it. And there's really not too many good places to put it, since this is just a very small manifold design. I really don't want to cut any more holes, so what I'm thinking is clean this up almost to the weld, because if you can see it, it's almost from that weld to this weld. That diameter or right there is a good size, but I'm gonna have to like open it up this way. And I bought these carbide bits so I can kind of bore it out, so I don't have to use like a hole saw or anything like that. But yeah, I'm gonna have to cut this off carefully, not to make the manifold any more bigger than this. And then yeah, this should help our boost creep tremendously, going from not only going from a 38mm or like less than a 38mm to a 44mm, but also I'm going to try to either keep it real close onto the manifold, like the flange being right on the manifold, or see if I can find a piece of pipe that'll kind of point down along with the runners, because the exhaust flow goes into the T3 flange, into the T3 turbine housing on the GT35. So flow needs to exit, needs to be able to keep going but exit. So this flange was like that. It would really need to be like this. That way exhaust flow doesn't have to kind of take a left and go back. Like exhaust gas is just not gonna take a U-turn. So if I can get this flat, I've had manifolds with it at 90 degrees, and at 44 tile can bleed off enough. But if I can at all kind of have an angle this way, which might be a little hard unless, like I said, I find a pipe that kind of brings it off like this, just because this is a 44mm flange that was designed for bigger manifolds, much higher quality manifolds. But this is what I got, guys. I'm gonna see if it can work. If anything, I'll get back with y'all when I get a better manifold. All right, little update. I grinded the rest of the flange off, and we're getting sorta somewhere. I think the height of this hole that they had cut is gonna be close, but then I'm gonna have to widen it up to this. And then if I can tack this somewhere and make sure it fits, and go ahead and weld it up, and we'll have a 45mm wastegate flange on there. What's up, guys? I'm finished beating up this manifold. So I had cut that hole, and then I actually wanted to weld the flange like right to it, but instead I ended up putting this little nipple, and it's sort of the very slightest downward angle. So hopefully now I can attach my wastegate and not have too bad of a boost creep. I still have to go in. I kind of got ahead of myself and welded the flange on. I was supposed to actually bore that out, so you can see that terrible hole in there. I got to get the shank. I got to get this in there. Hopefully the shank's long enough, because I already welded the flange, but I need to get this burr in there. Basically bore it out and port match it to the 44mm. I had this dump tube laying around, so I cut off a piece. That's where this little nipple came from, and hopefully it allows me to use that gate. And I just want like 8 to 10 pounds on gate, and if it creeps to 15, I'll leave it there. But if I can sustain 8 pounds, then I'm gonna put the boost controller on it and go to the track and turn it up there. Oh, I'm gonna stop here for now because it's getting dark out. I know the 4K 60 makes it look like there's a lot of light, but my neighbors are really bad with calling the cops on me, and I've already been grinding and welding all day. So I'm not no professional welder, guys, but I've had this little Harbor Freight thing for like 10 years, and I've always just kind of flux cored a lot of my shit together. And you guys know me, I can break some crazy welds with my 2-steps, so we'll see if this even holds. The only thing, I'm not concerned about the flange, but that is what I'm concerned about. I'm no professional. I try to get some penetration, but it is pretty gobbed up. I don't know if you can even see it. There's a lot of blow through, but there is quite a bit of penetration. So hopefully it stays true. Yeah, this is just a flux cord little 44 millimeter pipe that I welded on there to go like that. Hopefully not to have as much boost creep. But we'll see. It should be better than this. Let's do it side by side. What's up, guys? I'm done abusing this manifold. I got the 44 millimeter wastegate flange welded on, popcorn welded, and I got a burr and I tried to pour it out the hole as best I could. Got the collector was giving me some trouble. The burr was just kicking back because I did get too close to the collector. But nonetheless, guys, there's a 44 millimeter flange on there now, and I don't think I'll have as much boost creep, but I pretty much doubled the wastegate priority. I didn't put 2 gates, but I doubled the size of the outlet, and it's at a slightly downward angle, so I'm hoping that this 44 millimeter can handle that. Now this had a 7.7 spring, or also known as the 8-pound spring in it from Tile, and this thing is accurate, guys. If your manifold design is good, this will hold 8 pounds on the GT35. I've done it plenty of times with just one 44. You don't need 2 44s if the manifold is built correctly. This is no means built correctly. It's the small runner. You can even notice, look, the 44 millimeter dump tube or the wastegate looks bigger than the runners. So hopefully, you know, the quick spool will be alleviated by this and decrease the boost creep. If I throw it back on and head out tonight, I'll show y'all the log. The other gate, I was gonna test it, but it's already, like, now it's dark. I don't want my neighbors to call the cops if I keep running the compressor and air tools. I wanted to pressure test the other gate to confirm that it's a 7-pound spring, but I already know this was 8 because I hit it on my hatch not too long ago. That other precision gate I hadn't hit much boost on in a couple years, so I don't really remember. I could have probably just checked the gate, but either way, I wanted to upgrade this. So we'll see how she does.